We know that authorities have tried to loosen policy, but why is it significant that such efforts are now spreading to a city like Shanghai?
Absolutely, Sherry. Yes, we're seeing sort of this accelerated real estate loans and this desire to ensure growth for residential mortgages and loans to developers at Shanghai. And we know previously, and we've seen similar moves in Guangzhou as well. And I think sort of trying to improve sales and improve and engineer this softer landing for large cities is important, because although most sales come from smaller cities, third and fourth tier cities, these large urban centres are sort of considered a bellwether for buyer confidence. And really will be the sort of first and prime movers that people will be looking for to see any sort of fundamental improvement in sales. And of course, it's sales really that is going to help the developers kind of lift themselves out of this crisis.
What a difference 3 months makes. We're now hearing that Beijing's turning to Huarong to support the property sector.
Yeah, I mean, it is extraordinary, right, after the kind of drama that we saw play out at Huarong and seeing it kind of engineer through its own liquidity crisis. I do think that looking at the AMCs, not just at Huarong, of course, but at Cinder and Orient and Great Wall coming in to kind of offer this type of support is important. And it's particularly important as China tries to manage the financial risks among some of the smaller banks. So about 40% of banks' exposure in China is related to real estate. So the risks here are quite extreme, and particularly for the local and regional banks, a default or even just late payments by more than one real estate developer can add quite a lot of pressure. So I think we will look very closely, of course, at the roles that the AMCs themselves are going to be playing. I think there's two sort of options here. We may see them act more like vulture funds, coming in and really taking advantage of situations and sort of gobbling up really strong assets. On the other hand, we may see them playing a bit more of a white knight role, essentially absorbing more of the losses, but helping some firms survive in one iteration or another. And I think if we do see the latter, that will, of course, pressure the AMC's own financial health just a little.
Yeah, when it comes to the credit markets, we saw spreads on Huarong's dollar bonds widening in recent weeks. What are you watching for in that space?
Absolutely. I think really what we want to see is whether or not, or what type of role the AMCs are actually going to be playing and how that pressures their own financial health. Of course, as we talked about, they have gone through their own struggles, and they are in this process of kind of returning to the original mandate dealing with NPLs. They are, of course, the experts at this, but they have expanded to other types of businesses, and that has put some of its financial risk at health. And so I think investors are looking very, very closely at, whether or not they're sort of being given the call to step up and play this role during the property crisis will actually weaken the standing of the asset managers and precisely what type of capacity they have to actually step in and help.